Welcome to another edition of Coach's Corner here on ColumbusNewsTeam.com. Week 7 in the books, so now we look forward to Week 8. With me, as always, to open this one is Coach Craig Williams with the Columbus Discoverers. Coach, as always, thank you for stopping in.
Always good to come by and talk football.
We're glad to have you. We're going to look back to last week, a game that we broadcast as our game of the week. It took a very good team on in Omaha Westside, the team that came in number 4 in the state, but on that night, we've talked about it, they looked like the best team in the state. They were firing on all cylinders.
You know, before the season, our staff sat down and we kind of look at our schedule, and we really thought Westside was going to be the team to beat in Class A. And they have dropped a couple games. It shows you how deep and how good Class A football is. But, you know, this team on that night, it looked like they were the best team in the state, like you said. And they just have all the pieces. And, you know, here we got down 28-0 early, and you got to credit our kids a little bit because they came out. They kept playing hard. We made some nice plays here. Here's a nice run by Colton Wolf to get down into Westside territory. And then here's a sophomore, and Caleb Ash taking the ball around the corner and shows a little speed and shows that we got a couple guys that can run just as fast as they can, and got around the corner and ran away from people for our first score. So. But you know, it was we really didn't do anything to slow Westside down offensively all night, and you know, they're a juggernaut. They can come out and do that to most of the teams they play, and unfortunately, we weren't able to do much. And right before halftime, we came out and executed our 2-minute offense, drove down the field, and we actually punched it in here right before halftime. So that was good to see us go out and execute.
Yeah, I mean, Brabeck showing why he's a dual threat quarterback and sets up this touchdown nicely. I believe his name was Luis, or the guy who made the catch. I never called his name before right here. Who's this guy? What's he all about?
That's Juan Leon, another sophomore. So we had 2 sophomores score touchdowns in the game, and so it was good to see him come in and run the correct route on a bootleg play and punch it in. And you know, it just shows that we've got some guys out there, and we're mixing some guys in, and getting some different guys some experience, and you know, they're doing a good job when they do get into the football game.
And some other positives too. Ober, we talked about him the week coming into this, just making another highlight reel catch like he did the week before. Nice to have him back.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, we're going to continue to try to use our athletes, and Dallas is one of them, and Caleb Esch is one, and we've got a couple other. You know, if you look at Jake Bonwell in there, he had a nice game, had 4 receptions coming in and making a lot of nice plays, and he's a little guy, and but he did a really good job. And you know, we have some guys that are capable of doing it, and you know, they're figuring things out, and you know, we're trying to play to their strengths right now, and on offense, and get them the football where they can make plays.
All right, well, coming off that game now, you're looking forward to a rivalry game. You kind of circle 2 games for the most part for rivalries, Norfolk and Fremont. And you have the Tigers coming up in this final, or second to last week of the season. Talk a little bit about, before the Tigers, what you expect, the tradition itself. The F&C Cup is what you call it, what you battle for, and what kind of all plays into that, and what do you preach to these kids this week as you prepare for this game?
It's a very special game for us and for Fremont. It was recently named one of the top high school rivalries in the state. It's one of the longest running. The cup that we play for is barely recognizable as a football. It's just been beat up and over the years. But the first game listed on the cup was played in 1929, and the cup's been passed back and forth since that time. And in the last 10 years, we've only lost that cup 1 time, and we've had it in our trophy case for 8 straight years. You know, and the biggest thing we've told our kids this year is that all those teams in the last decade to 15 years have brought that cup home and put it back in our trophy case. And with the real possibility of us going to Class B next year, you know, we may not get the opportunity to play for it for a few years. So we don't want it to not come back. And you know, we've had the cup on the field. We've used it as a cone out there to when we're running sprints and things like that. That's been our marker. That's what we're running to. You know, so the kids have seen it every single day. They know what it looks like. And to be honest with you, there's not a single player from Fremont that knows what that cup looks like, because it's been in our trophy case for so long. And in fact, our coaching staff is new enough that they haven't seen the cup. So we're going to try to keep it that way on Friday night by going out and playing a good football game.
Just speaking of the Tigers, then, what do you expect to see from them? I believe they come in at 3-5, so fairly level playing field. But what do they have?
Well, you know, the biggest thing they have right now is they're still playing for the playoffs. If they win the last 2 games, they're in the playoffs. They're in a similar situation that we were last year. And, you know, they had a nice win over Burke last week and took advantage of some Burke mistakes, you know, and came out on top in that football game. But Fremont's going to come out and try to run the football. They got a very, very good running back in Seth Lambert, big kid. You know, a guy that our running back, Colton Wolf, knows very well, and through the wrestling mat and throughout the wrestling year. But you know, then they can bring in a backup running back that's very, very quick. So they have 2 excellent running backs. They have 2 very good receivers that they like to use play action pass and set up their passing game with the running game. You know, defensively, they've done an adequate job. There's some games that they come out and they're just outstanding. The last game was their best game of the year. They were very aggressive, getting downhill, making tackles, blitzing, put a lot of pressure on Burke's offense. So that's the defense we expect to see on Friday night, because they do have a lot to play for. And I'm sure their coaches are over there saying the same thing that we say about the F&C Cup and wanting to put it in their trophy case.
Just a question for you. I know the F&C Cup, you don't really need to play it any more up than that because of the rivalry, but are you kind of saying, hey, you know, we could also spoil their chances to make the playoffs? Are you kind of using that as motivation as well?
Yeah, you know, anytime you have that rivalry on the schedule, and this is one of the preseason goals for us, is to beat Fremont. And it's a team goal, and we set that. The kids set it every year because they want this game. But, you know, I'm not going to say that there's any bad blood between the 2 schools, but anytime you have an opportunity to kind of mess up the season of a rival, you know, I know you certainly want to do that, and you know, I know it'll make a lot of the old-time fans out there, the guys that have been around for a long time, that have played in this game in the last, you know, 30, 40 years, you know, it'll make them real happy, too, to see us go out and take one from Fremont.
All right, Coach. Well, as always, wishing you the best of luck as you take on Fremont in that rivalry match on Friday night, traveling up there for it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, that wraps up this first segment on Coach's Corner Week 8 edition. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Scotus head coach Tyler Linder and look to the Shamrocks. And welcome back to Coach's Corner here on ColumbusNewsTeam.com, ready for our second segment of the Week 8 edition. With me, as always, head coach Tyler Linder of the Scotus Shamrocks. Coach, we got the comfy chairs for you. How you feeling? Is that nice?
I feel good. It's a nice upgrade. I like it.
Well, good. I'm glad you're comfortable. I'm comfortable. We're going to talk next week as well as last week. An interesting situation. You guys suffered your first loss of the season. I mean, you're playing ranked opponents all the way up until this point, and Wahoo got the best of you in a close one. Let's just rehash that one and look back at kind of what happened.
Yeah, you know, we played a really good team in the Wahoo Warriors. You know, I felt really good going into the game. I think our kids had a great week of practice, but you know, practice, you know, can help prepare you for a game, but you have to show up on Friday night. And you know, unfortunately, we ended up on the losing end of things. But you know, proud of the way that our guys battled adversity. You know, we didn't come out with a victory, but we saw what our team was really made of last Friday night.
You were scoreless through that first quarter, then you get into the second and you notched off 14 points. I believe it was 14-7 at halftime. Kind of take us through how that second quarter transpired.
Yeah, like you said, the first quarter was just a really, I mean, it was kind of like the first round of a boxing match. It was just kind of us feeling each other out, and then in the second quarter we led off right away with a bang. You know, we went up 14-0, and then things kind of started to unravel a little bit, and it was kind of it was the sign of things to come. There was about 50 seconds left, and they punted to us, and on the punt return, we fumbled it on our own 30-yard line, and so they got the ball back with 40-some seconds left to go, and our defense held strong for 3 plays, but they went for it. Fourth down, it was fourth and goal from or it wasn't fourth and goal, it was 4th and 10 from about the 25-yard line, something like that. And they threw a Hail Mary to the corner of the end zone, as time expired off the clock. And it was a perfect ball. It was it was an over the shoulder, back shoulder fade, and their receiver made a great play on it. And they went we went into halftime, up 14-7. And so they had a lot of momentum going into halftime, and we had to kind of calm our boys down and try to weather the storm a little bit and regain our confidence. And that's where we were at half.
The unfortunate thing, too, not to harp on all the negatives, but you came out at halftime and had another special teams lapse and helped Wahoo get on the board again.
Yeah, it was, everything that we did last Friday night, any positive thing was almost immediately followed by some sort of mishap on our part. And not taking any credit away from Wahoo, but a lot of that was just on us. We did some things that were very uncharacteristic. We put the ball on the ground a total of 4 times that night, losing 3 of them, and we threw 1 interception. And anything that we did right, was always countered with something positive. We blocked 2 punts, and then the punts ended up rolling 30, 35 yards. And so, the ball just wasn't, swinging our way, rolling our way last Friday night. And so, it's given us quite a bit of motivation this week.
And just walking through sort of the fourth quarter, you still put up 13 points, so it was 27-31, and you still had a chance towards the end of the game, just couldn't quite get there. Yeah,
I think, Coach Pellon did everything in his power to get us down the field, and we were marching down the field, and we saw an opportunity with with kind of a mismatch. We had a 6'4" guy in Dalton Taylor matched up against a corner that was 5'8", and so when we see that on the sidelines, we got to dial one up, and to Wahoo's credit, they brought some pressure, forced a little bit of an underthrown ball, and they were able to pick it off to kind of cap things off. Our defense then held strong. We got the ball back late with only a few seconds left, and your statistical probability of doing anything of any substantial factor at that point is slim to none. So but our boys battled hard, and the thing that I'm most proud of from last Friday night is how disappointed we were. I've been a part of teams in the past where we would lose and people would say, oh, that's no big deal, we'll go on to the next one. But this really hurt our boys, and it really started us to question some things, and a lot of times that can be used in a positive manner, and I think that's the direction we went this week.
Well, next week you have North Bend Central. You look ahead to Lakeview before the playoffs. So again, like you said, a situation where maybe this could be used as a positive. It kind of gives you that jump start as you have this postseason push. Looking forward now, you said they were very disappointed. What's practice been like this week? North Bend Central, by all intents and purposes, a team that you think you outmatch on paper.
Yeah, I think our week has been good. Monday we started out a little bit slow, but I think Tuesday and yesterday's practice in particular were great. I think yesterday's practice, Wednesday's practice was by far our best special teams practice of the year. Guys were flying around, energetic, excited, and we were just getting things accomplished offensively and defensively, just getting really confident in what we do and perfecting the little things. And so we were able to make great strides this week in preparing for homecoming, which is always an exciting time for our kids. And so we're excited for the opportunity on Friday night.
And as for North Bend Central, scouting report on them, have you looked at film? What do you expect to see? Key players, who are you looking out for?
Yeah, I think North Bend does some really nice things. They run a 3-4 defense, and they'll walk a guy down to kind of load up the box against us, and that gave us a little bit of a trouble last year. A series or two to adjust to their defense. But offensively, I really do like their offense. I think they've got some nice skill guys that do good things with the football, but they run a kind of a pistol wing tee or a pistol flex bone, so it's a lot of the similar things that we run, some of the same blocking schemes, but they really try to get the ball in their playmakers' hands, and they're big up front. They've got a couple guys that are about 260. Tackle to tackle, they're the biggest line that we'll see, and so they average about 230 up front, and their backfield's not tiny either. They're averaging 180 in their backfield, and so their quarterback's 6'3", 190 pounds. They've got another running back who's 195 pounds, and their fullback. So if they get momentum going forward, right, they're going to fall ahead for a 3, 4, even 5-yard gain. So we've got to really show up early and impose our will, and I think we'll be just fine.
All right, Coach. Well, as always, wishing you the best of luck as you take on North Bend Central. Look back to get to the winning track on homecoming.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it.
And that wraps up this second segment of Coach's Corner here on ColumbusNewsTeam.com. Stay with us because we're going to talk to head coach Kurt Frenzen as the Lakeview Vikings get ready to take on David City for our featured game of the week. And welcome back to Coach's Corner here on ColumbusNewsTeam.com. With us for our marquee segment is Lakeview head coach Kurt Frenzen as they get ready to take on the David City Scouts for our game of the week. Kurt, thank you for stopping in.
Well, I appreciate it. Getting excited, get going against David City here. It's going to be a beautiful night at Lakeview Stadium, so couldn't ask for better weather this time of year, and I know the kids are excited to get going.
I'm excited to talk about that game, but before we do, like always, going to recap last game. You had a very good team. You traveled to Bishop Neumann, took them on, fell a little short because of a late kickoff, but walk us through that game. 38-20 was the score.
Well, we knew that Newman would be ready to roll last week. We felt like, they would come in pretty up for this game. We felt like they were going to be dialed in. They'd had a rough game the week before. So we thought, we were going to see a team that was going to give great effort, and that was the case. They definitely got off to a quick start against us. We played decent defense at times on the first couple drives, but we just, big thing is we were doing somebody else's job some of the time and not our own. So Trevor Schultz did a nice job coming down, making some tackles, making some plays, and getting us some stops. And then on offense, when we did get the ball back down 10-0, Trent Roth did a great job on a little jet play that we run, getting some space there. We took the ball right down the field, and we kind of challenged our kids to get something done, and they did that. We were able to get down the field and score on a little quarterback ISO to Dylan Johnson, our quarterback. Got to 10-6, missed the extra point. Now we need our defense to step up, and they did, and we got the offensive ball back. Trey Shanks did a nice job with an off-tackle play there. We drove the ball down and had some opportunity with field position to go for a nice deep pass play to Jack Reed. So we had the lead 12-10 in the second quarter. I felt pretty excited about where we were at. And then Bishop Newman in the second half came out and really executed well, but we felt like if we could just hang in there, we could get in position to win the game, and we did. We drove the ball down to the 4-yard line and couldn't get it in to start the second half. In the next possession, we got a turnover right here from Trent Roth. We got an interception, sent us up a pretty decent field position again. And then we had some yardage where he drove again, but just couldn't get it in. So 23-12 into the fourth quarter, and Jack Reed on a little screen play, got some space. We drove the ball down really patiently. Felt like, again, we were a two-possession game. And then we just had a nice power read play by Dylan Johnson there, our quarterback, and our kids were excited, 23-20. The ensuing kickoff, they returned for a touchdown. But we did have, still a two-possession game. We felt like if we could score here, it was going to go right down to the wire. Unfortunate for us, we just couldn't get out of our own way. Newman was able to tack on a touchdown late to push the lead to 38-20. As a coach, the effort's there, so we're excited about that. This late in the season, they're still giving great effort. They're still trying hard. We just got to get them to dial back in and make sure that we understand that if everybody at all 11 positions do their job, we're good enough athletically that we're going to get stops.
And just looking for the rest of the season, you have 2 weeks left in the regular season. All your losses coming against either ranked teams at the time or they're ranked now, so you've been through the grinder. So where does this game put you? You're sitting at 3-4 with 2 weeks to go with David City and then Scotus for the playoff picture.
Well, we're going to need help for the playoffs, but all we can worry about is what we can control, and that starts with David City. And David City is a team that is going to run off tackle at you and try to cut the game in half. And we just need to make sure that we get some 3-and-outs. We can't let them have 12, 13, 14 play drives. And they're good enough if they get in a groove that they can make some plays and make the night hard on us. So we got to take care of business against David City, and if we can do that and get to 4-4, we're worried about what we can control, and then hopefully, like I said, some of the dominoes fall where they benefit us here in the last couple weeks.
And speaking of that running game of David City, some of the key players that you guys need to key on to stop them to have a successful game, who do you need to look out for?
Well, their quarterback is an outstanding football player. He does a great job directing their offense, and then they have a couple backs that are pretty good. And their O-line really do a nice job of using angles and leverage, and that's something we're going to have to play better. Sometimes during the course of the season we played pretty high. We stood up and tried to find the football instead of just getting into our guy and taking him to the football. So those are things we're going to have to do well. But, traditionally there's a blue-collar team that's going to run downhill on you. And then offensively, we're going to have to get a big play here or there. But the biggest thing is we're going to have to sustain some drives, and that was one of the things last week that we didn't do on a regular basis. And our wins and when we've been successful this year against number 3 Wahoo, it came down to a 1-point ball game. I felt like we drove the ball at different times and kept our defense off the field. Even though we only scored a couple times, I felt like that was successful for us. We're going to need to do that too, and that's the best thing for us is run the football and then hopefully get some play action pass in there. We do have some, drop back pass stuff that DJ looks comfortable in and feels comfortable in, so we're going to have to execute that as well. And again, special teams, we've got to clean that up. We can't give up a kick return. We've got to make sure we're making our extra points, and that's something that's been a bugaboo for us and doesn't hasn't been running the smoothest for us this year. We got to do a little bit better job of cleaning that up. But and that's just not on the kicker. We've had breakdowns. It's maybe the snap hasn't been there, the hold's been off, or it's in a combination of all three: the snap, the hold, and the kick. So we've had a couple protection breakdowns as well. So. I want people to understand that. That's special teams as a whole has got to get a little bit better and a little bit cleaner.
All right, Coach. Well, as always, we're wishing you the best of luck. We're looking forward to broadcasting this one. So here's to another Lakeview win.
We appreciate it. And again, I think our kids are giving great effort for this time of the year. It was good for them to come out and attack the week this week. Their playoffs hopes are still alive, albeit, like I said, we're going to need help, but to have them focus on what they can control is a key, and I think they've done that this week, and that should pay dividends for us on Friday night as long as we carry that through the game. But again, David City's going to give us all we want, so better be ready to play.
All right, the Lakeview Vikings hosting David City Scouts on Friday. Going to be seen here on ColumbusNewsTeam.com. You can watch it live as the Vikings hope to keep their playoff hopes alive. I'm Brandon Axbett, he's Kurt Frenzen, and that wraps up this Week 8 edition of Coach's Corner here on ColumbusNewsTeam.com.